Hey boys and girls, today we are going to be in our module 1 through 9 book, page 185. Today we're representing multiplication of whole numbers by fractions. So just like we were doing yesterday, we're continuing to represent that multiplication of whole numbers by fractions. Yesterday we saw that when we were talking about our cats. But we were just looking at them in groups and thinking about those equal shares. So you're going to see that this is very similar to that. So it says Earl bakes 3 loaves of bread. He keeps 1/4 of the bread for himself and gives the rest to his neighbors. How many loaves of bread does Earl give to his neighbors? Alright, so we're going to draw a model to show how much he gives away. Well, first of all, I know that Earl baked 3 loaves of bread. Here's some bread, here's some bread, here's some bread. He keeps 1/4 of the bread for himself and gives the rest to his neighbors. So that means I have these 3 things and I am going to put them into fourths. So 1, 2, 3, 4. See, each loaf is in 4 parts. Alright, so now he's keeping 1/4 of that for himself. So I'm going to say what he's keeping is this. Here's 1 of the 4ths. Okay? But our question says, how much does he give his neighbors? Okay? So let's see. Now these are all split into fourths. So we can look there and say, how many fourths is that? So I have 1, 2, there's 3/4 here, 3/4 here, and 3/4 here. Well, 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 is 9/4, because I have 9 groups, 9 little fourths. Okay, now we talked last week, or the last couple of weeks, about this. We call this an improper fraction. So 9/4. We know that 1, 2, 3, 4/4 is a whole loaf of bread. So 4/4 is a whole, and 8/4 would be 2 wholes. So I know that 9/4 is equivalent to 2 wholes with 1/4 left over. So you could write it either of those ways. Also, when we're talking about how we represented this with a visual model, but we were finding 1/4 of the 3 here. We were finding 1/4 of 3. 3 things. We split them into 4 parts. Oh, actually, we found 3/4 of 3. Sorry. 1/4 is what he had. 3/4 is what he gave. So we took our 3 things, we put them in 4 parts, and we had 3 of those parts. So that's why we had 9/4. Okay. Also, 3/4 of 4 is like 3/4 of 3 is like 3/4 times 3. We could represent this like 3/1, which would still give us 9/4. Okay? If you turn the page, 186. Miss Spann bakes 2 cakes, each in the shape of a hexagon. That's very cool. She takes 3/4 of the cakes to a party. Determine how much cake she takes to the party using pattern blocks, and then show a visual model to show your work, okay? So if you have some access to some pattern blocks, if you have the yellow ones, that's your hexagon. So she's baking those 2 hexagon cakes. and they're each in the shape of a hexagon, and she takes 3/4 of those cakes to the party. So 3/4 of the 2, which is like 3/4 times 2. So if we had our pattern blocks, you could take your pattern blocks, and now we have 4 parts. If we have 3 of those 4 parts, then we know that she took 1, 2, 3 halves, or 1.5 cakes to the party. So we can see that by using that right here. How did we use the pattern blocks to help us find it? We can fill those in right here. And we can represent a whole by using that yellow one, or a half by using the red. What amount of the cakes does Miss Fan take to the party? She takes 3 halves, or 1.5. And write the multiplication equation. We are just doing this all the way. So 3/4 2 times is 6/4, or 1.5. Okay. 1 2/4, which is like 1.5. Okay. Then we have 187. Rashad bakes 4 equal-sized granola bars. He serves 2/3 of the bars to his friends. Draw a model. I know he has 4 granola bars. 1, 2, 3, 4 granola bars. He serves 2/3 of them to his friends. So we're going to put all of them in thirds. Okay? But he's giving 2/3 to his friends. So there's 2/3, 2/3, 2/3, 2/3. How did you make equal-sized parts from 4 holes? So we drew our 4 rectangles. And divided into 3 equal parts, because our 2/3 tells us that we're putting that in 3 parts. Alright, what does the 2 in the fraction 2/3 represent? So the 2 is how many of the 3 equal-sized parts are served. How many thirds? 2/3. That's how many thirds there were. Okay? And how did we show this in our model? Well, we saw. We shaded 2 of the 3 parts. So how many little 1/3 size pieces does he serve? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 thirds. So you can look at it and count it just like we did there. 2, 4, 6, 8. You might show it 2/3 added 4 times, which is 8 thirds. You can write that as 2/3 of the 4. And D says, how many granola bars does he serve? Write a multiplication equation. 2/3 times 4, like 2/3 of 4. 2/3 of the 4 is my 8 thirds. Or 3 goes into 8, 3, 6, 2 times with 2 left over. 2 wholes and 2/3. Because I know 1, 2, 3 is going to be a whole. 1, 2, 3 with 2 left over, because they're in thirds. Alright, so I want you to continue working on that and complete your homework for tonight and do your very best.